What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So today we wanted to take a look at another group of tricks that challenger players are abusing that a lot of the other player base maybe doesn't exactly take advantage of, with the hope that maybe some of you guys could potentially incorporate these tricks into your own gameplay and start to feel yourselves out and improve as players. But since I am not a challenger player myself, joining me today is going to be my good friend Draggin, Challenger Jungle Main, who of course helped me put together the list and make this video.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Draggin, and I'll be joining Jeremy today to do this video because he asked me to, and I'm a challenger player, and so I'll be doing this video with him.
Alright, so jumping right into it, actually the first trick we wanted to talk about is abusing the lack of vision from unwarded brushes on the map. So everyone's pretty familiar with brush and the role that it plays in the game to let you move around unseen. But there's a lot of mechanics and tricks with it that you can definitely take advantage of that really isn't used nearly often enough. Something you can see from potentially watching challenger players play is how often they will actually dip and weave in and out of the brush during the laning phase especially, which is always worth doing even if it's just to get your opponent second guessing what you're up to. If you watch closely though, it really goes so much deeper than that though. They're often using the brush to hide specific actions. For example, say you want to cast an ability, but you want to take the enemy by surprise, or potentially just hide the animation to give them less time to react. If you're into the habit of moving in and out of the brush, you can use that time to fire off an ability or maybe just an auto attack, and actually hide the animation by abusing the lack of vision with this sort of brush weaving technique. The same goes for minion aggro too. If a brush has no wards in it, the minions can't see you in it, of course, so you can shake off any minion aggro that you gain after harassing an enemy with an auto attack by walking into the brush and resetting it. It's a neat little trick that can definitely get you a lot of awesome trades, especially during the bot lane and in the top lane laning phases.
Alright, I'm going to be doing the second trick, and the second trick is all about mind games. And it can be really hard to get into the habit of doing, but super powerful once you learn to exploit it. Let's use an example to explain it. Say you're up in the top lane, stood next to your caster minions, and you see the enemy jungler has come to gank because you have the river bush warded. It would be really natural for most players to just immediately run towards the tower. After all, that's where they are going to be safe from most ganks. But as long as their jungler isn't coming directly to you, you can assume they are waiting for you to move into a really bad position, maybe a bit further towards the enemy tower, or closer to the brush they are hiding in, and this will give you the time to play a pretty mean trick. Just pretend to be oblivious, move forward slightly then back again, so that you can stay at a safe distance while also making the enemy jungler think you have no knowledge of where they are. You can even take it a step further by using a range harass ability on an enemy quickly, and then quickly backing out. You're essentially taunting the enemy jungler and making him think that you're probably going to end up going towards him or making a big mistake, even though you are aware of him the entire time, and he can still just move back to safety once he eventually does reveal himself. The benefit here is that you are wasting a lot of the time that he could spend farming or ganking other lanes, and as you guys know, every second in a game of League does count.
And next up, we're talking about minion wave management. So most players in ranked queues have probably at least heard about the concept of minion wave management, since it's definitely talked a lot about during pro games and other discussions and stuff, but a lot of people definitely do not apply it themselves actually in game. And it does sound pretty technical when you first hear about the concept, but it is a lot simpler to actually implement once you're used to doing it. And you can definitely use a few of the tricks without needing insane mechanics or just crazy planning ahead. For example, to freeze a lane, you can tank minions and stagger minions until you are fighting the minions where you want the lane to freeze, and then kill enemy creeps to almost exactly match your own wave. For example, maybe leave 1 or 2 extra minions compared to your own actual creep wave. Now I'm sure most of you guys probably know how to freeze a lane, so the real pro trick here though is to drag the minion waves to gain different advantages in different scenarios. For example, when the enemy wave is on its way towards you, you can take the aggro and then quickly dip into the brush, and you can do this a few times to stagger the wave and throw it out of balance, making it naturally push. You can do the same to drag minions upwards in the lane and dip back into the bush, or even drag the wave towards your jungle to potentially try and save a couple of creeps that might have originally been killed by those minions. You should also know how to create your own giant minion waves that you can use to storm and really just push down an enemy turret or just their base really. The best way to do this is to kill 2 caster minions on a balanced wave. The melee minions have a lot more health, so it takes your wave a lot longer to kill them, which means that your next creep wave is going to have a lot more time to spawn and catch up, and as a result you get a massive minion wave that builds up from something that was relatively even. You want to be 2 caster creeps in advantage with your own creep wave, and that will result in what is known as a slow push, and it's something that will cause you to build up just an absolutely insanely large creep wave about 3 minutes or so later, where you end up having 2 or even 3 cannon minions, and you can just make such an awesome push for a turret, or potentially even give you a minion wave strong enough to solo down an inhibitor tower. You do have to prepare this trick about 3 minutes or so in advance, and you do need to make sure the enemy laners aren't going to be heading back to actually clear the wave, of course, but at best this trick gets you such an awesome push, and it's something that pro players use almost every single game actually at the competitive level when they try to, push out a lane and then group for a team fight or something like that, because it's a less obvious way of actually pushing out a lane, so it makes it so that, you can very slowly start the push, leave for your team, go play for some objectives or just team fight or something like that, and meanwhile your lane is just going to be slowly pushing and eventually build up into something really big. And then you can either take advantage of that after you maybe win your fight, or if you lose your fight, it allows your opponents to get a lot of pressure so that they can't take as many advantages as they otherwise could have.
Alright, I'll be taking the next trick, and the next trick is going to be about ward placement. It's easy to fall into the trap of plopping down a ward into the usual locations, maybe in front of an objective or in a brush looking over a common gank path, but these places are often easy to counter with a pink because the usual pink spots will check for these wards. In fact, the best way to learn to place normal sight wards is to learn where the usual pink wards are. For example, the river brush next to the dragon, the tri-bushes near top lane and bot lane, and the brush at the back of the red buff. The higher in the elos you climb, the more likely that you're going to find a pink wards in these locations. And you can't always head over to check and clear them out. So it's important to know how to ward around them. Control wards actually have a 900 unit radius, although that doesn't go through terrain. That means when warding a potential gank or objective, you should look and think where pink wards are likely to be placed. Then place your sight ward in a way that won't be spotted while still covering the pathway to give you information about the enemy's whereabouts. Let's use the river brush near bot lane for example. It's usually going to get pink warded by the purple side because it will clear vision and help their jungler gank bot. That means any wards you have in the brush or in the vicinity will be cleared out. That being said, you could place a sight ward a bit further up in the lane, for example, just in front of the dragon pit. It would be outside the range of the control ward, while also giving you an early warning about enemy junglers moving towards bot lane from blue. And if the enemy jungler sneaks a dragon or something, well, you got eyes, right? So you can probably see them doing it. Of course, that's if they do it. There's tons of these spots around, so you can be a little creative and, once you figure out where the natural pink wards are, you can easily put your sight ward somewhere outside of the range of these usual pink wards and not get spotted.
And our next trick is really all about greed. So a lot of players in, lower elos are going to be pretty happy, after you win a dragon fight, maybe you win a baron fight, take some objectives, and then they're going to recall. Since they're low on health, of course, they want to spend their newly acquired gold. But what you should actually be doing after winning an objective, or especially winning a team fight, is something that not everyone does, and that's counter-jungling. The thing is that when the enemies are dead, there's not that much of a threat of actually dying, and so you'll usually have your minions wave pushed up, your opponents are going to take some time to actually walk back into the fight, which means you have plenty of time to head into the enemy jungle and steal away some camps for free gold, and sometimes you'll definitely even get away with stealing buffs. Now, it's something that everyone probably does from time to time, but it's something that the challenger players abuse the hell out of, and it's something that they take advantage of all the time. League is about chaining advantages together, and although it's definitely becoming more common for people to properly or at least more effectively rotate between objectives, it is still pretty rare to see people actively counter-jungling when the enemy team is dead, after winning a team fight, after taking the objective, until you reach the higher levels of play. So definitely abuse this strategy to give yourself more of a gold lead, deny the enemy team a lot of gold too, experience buffs, all sorts of stuff from the enemy team. It's definitely something you should be taking advantage of.
Next up is going to be a trick about baiting objectives. It's really easy to set your sights on a target like Baron, but going straight for it is often a mistake since the enemy team might be ready to collapse on you. Honestly, this is one of those things you have to get a feeling for, when to start an objective and when to bait it out, but the easiest way to pull it off is to ignore the idea of capturing an objective you're baiting. For example, if you have a strong split pusher on your team, you can split your focus up and send them to another lane where they could pressure an inhibitor, for example, and then the rest of your team can hover around Baron, causing map pressure that pulls enemy team's attention. And you don't even have to try and take Baron, just stay grouped and near it to force enemy team to focus on you while your split pusher takes down turrets for free. Now, if you're low elo, your teammates probably suck and they don't understand this concept, but you'll see as you climb, higher and higher, this concept is driven through more people's minds. This works even better, of course, if you have someone with teleport, since you can use this strategy to force the enemy team to send at least one person back to defend, and then have your teammate to teleport back to have a 5v4 fight. But yeah, in general, if you're actually going to go for the Baron, and it's still like a 5v4, I would consider not doing it unless you've cleared the wards and you can contest it, but if they come and Baron's at 6,000 health, you probably have to turn. But yeah, make sure you consider the whole map when you're planning to make an aggressive play, and you can be rewarded with really clean wins where the enemy team feels like they have no way to stop you. Now, for the last trick for today is something that a lot of lower elo players never consider, even though it's often a really easy thing to do. If you have an enemy champion low on health, often they are going to recall to spend their gold and recover some lost health. If you're a ranged champion or a tanky melee champion, you can often poke at them or move into range to threaten them into cancelling a recall, which stalls them out and makes them waste time. Remember, in this game, time is money, friend. So you waste their time by not recalling, you pressure them, they might be easily diveable, or they have to give up a wave, or they're forced in lane with really low hit point, and then either freezing your minion wave or crashing your minion wave into their tower. Sometimes it might be a bait and the enemy jungler is actually nearby, and they know you want to do something like this, so be careful, but it is low elo, so don't ever think they're one step ahead of you.
Alright, so it looks like that's just about going to wrap up everything today on our list of some tricks that challenger players are abusing that you probably don't. You might have noticed throughout the video how often we said that, some certain thing maybe would be a small advantage or not necessarily all that significant, but that's really what often separates challenger players from the rest. They actively use and abuse all of these tricks, and all of those small advantages really just add up to so much and allows them to dominate games against less prepared players. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all the tricks. Definitely let us know in the comment section below, maybe if they worked for you, or perhaps suggest your own trick that you might want to see in another video like this someday. And big thanks to, of course, my man Draggin for joining us in the video. Definitely check out his channel and subscribe to him. There'll be a link in the description below. Either way, it looks like that's gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.